a very special Progressive Democrats of America town hall. Today is October 5th. Time's so weird these days. I often hesitate before I say today's date because it seems to be going by both very slowly and very fast. And today's October 5th, 2025. And we've been doing these town halls now for almost 5 years, I think. Yeah, over 5 years. And we have a fantastic town hall for you today featuring Representative Ro Khanna. Now, Ro Khanna, um, unfortunately, will not be live. You'll see a recorded interview that we did. Ro Khanna will be joining us live, though. The tentative date for that is October 26th, and certainly no later than the week after that. And so that's when he'll be answering questions from the audience, and the whole time will just be Q&A with PDA members. Okay? And so today is the prelude to that. And we have about an incredible 35-minute dialogue that we've done with Representative Ro Khanna. And I think of all the dialogues I've had with people to date, this is probably, to pat myself on the head, the most effective I think I've ever done in terms of really having our guest speak in detail about the subjects that he's brought on to speak about, and in a way in which I feel like the interview hit all of its marks. And so, as people probably know, Ro Khanna is a very, very prominent um, member of Congress and member of the American Progressive Movement. And I don't think it's unknown to people that there are presidential aspirations there. Ro's touring the country, going to certain states where it's people who are preparing to run for president often go to. Now, that's not official. It may not happen. We know that is true, but it's important to frame things that way because Ro is clearly a person who is looking at the totality of American society, America in its place in the world, the national economy, I think, with a real depth and seriousness that is certainly unsurpassed by anybody who's a prominent political figure in the country right now. Certainly on a plane with Bernie Sanders at this point in terms of the depth of the subject matters, and the breadth of the subject matters that he's addressing, and the depth of his approach to addressing them. And so we talk about a lot of things in this interview. I'm very, very happy about it, and that will be coming up shortly. Now, the first 10 minutes of our PDA Town Hall every week is set aside for us to put forward our PDA to-dos for the week, and we'll hear those from Mike Fox in a moment, and also to hear from the chair of our advisory board, Donna Smith, and her thoughts on the week. And also to let people know that we are Progressive Democrats of America. You know, we're a national grassroots organization, mass membership organization. We have a 501c4 that lobbies, a 527 federal PAC. And we pretty much address the totality of American society and American politics from our place inside the political landscape. And of course, we're perhaps best known as the organization that drafted Senator Bernie Sanders, at the time a rather obscure socialist member of the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, to run for president. And we did that in 2013 and were successful in drafting him to not only run for president, but to do so as a Democrat. And of course, his campaign in 2016 transformed American politics by elevating progressive politics back onto the main stage of the national political dialogue. So every week we have these town halls. They're at Sunday at 4 p.m. It's not a time where a lot of organizations have events, so we sort of have this time of the week to ourselves here, and we want everybody here who is impressed by this event to encourage other people to attend. I think we're going to probably, beginning with this week's event, have some very prominent guests over the next few weeks. Again, as everybody on this call knows, we're in a crisis in American society that's unrivaled, certainly in my lifetime. And we address facets of that crisis every week these days. Each town hall has a unique focus to it. And today, of course, the focus is Ro Khanna and his perspective on American society and the world. And I do want to say I apologize on behalf of everybody at PDA that we don't allow our attendees to have their cameras on through the way we've structured the Zoom meeting. That is because Zoom meetings by progressive organizations are frequently under attack, and we were Zoom bombed rather badly a while ago. And so the way to contain that is to have everybody's mics muted until they're asked to unmute and to keep everybody's video off. That way, simply anybody who comes to disrupt the meeting is unable to do so. And this has been an effective remedy for something that was happening rather often. So we apologize for that. And we also, during the time that our featured guest is speaking, we turn the chat off. Now, because we have a pre-recorded dialogue with Ro today, even though Ro will be coming back in just a few weeks to answer all of your questions live in person. So it's important for everybody who wants to be a part of that to listen today, because this is the prelude to that event where Ro will be live. The prospective date for that is Sunday, October 26th. But while we have the guest on, normally we turn the chat off. My suggestion to staff is we don't turn the chat off this week, since we don't have a live guest and will not be distracting from the guest. If, however, the comments become disruptive in some way, we retain the sense that we will turn the chat off if that is the case. So try to keep the chat on subject while Ro is speaking. And in particular, you probably want to frame you might want to frame questions, because we will have a Q&A following Ro's interview that we can all have among ourselves, a dialogue among ourselves. And we'd love to hear people's thoughts on every facet of what Ro is talking about. So with that, actually, I want to just change the agenda slightly. I want to first say hi to Hartzell Gray, who's running for Congress in Missouri, then to Mike Fox. Hartzell, we only have about 2 minutes for you. But how you doing? It's great to see you, not in person like last weekend, which was incredible, but great to see you. And how you doing?
I'm good, my brother. How are you? I will keep it very brief because I'm sure you're going to get yelled at, and I am also going to get yelled at. So we're going to both try to keep it brief. But no, things are good. Things are really exciting. Gave a little bit of a sneak peek when we were in person with some of our wonderful friends who hosted me in a little fundraiser in LA. But news breaking, I don't have a sound effect queued up, but we're running because of the gerrymandering. All of our folks in the state of Missouri were trying to fight back against fascism. So we've got our folks who are going to the court. We have folks who have launched petitions to save our democracy. And what I'm going to do is try to stay into the game. And my form of this fight is that while they tried to move me from District 5 out of this primary, I'm now in District 4. And so we're going to run in District 4, which means now that I will have no incumbent. It's me taking on a former Fox anchor here from Kansas City named Mark Alford. He is a MAGA expletive, and we're gonna flip this seat now. So this is actually, I think, a dream come true. That in these folks' hubris, like they're cartoon villains, they don't understand that they just played themselves. So we're gonna have a historic wave in 2026, and we're not just gonna hold a blue seat. We're now going to flip a red seat. So love you all. Join us as we do this thing because the momentum's good. Things are good, Alan. Things are good.
Well, now that it looks like you're running in a seat which is not predominantly suburban and urban, we will be launching our partnership with we have multiple partnerships with the Rural Urban Bridge Initiative on Tuesday, October 14th. Yes, that's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have our first, we're going to invite certain states to join us, PDA state chapters to join a meeting as we are getting involved in their Beyond Resistance campaign and supporting it and partnering on that. And that includes,
Well,
of
that's
course,
the
a
thing
focus
too.
on the
If
Rural
I
New
can,
Deal. So
because I want
we'd love
to,
to have you
well,
do
I
that.
want to make sure that we also like, I gotta be super brief again. Like, what's really interesting in that how these folks have, by these folks, how these Republicans and Trump have, how they've tried to divide us, they've also given an opportunity, right? So my
Right.
district, which you're right, that district was initially in the fifth, very urban, very city driven by Kansas City, Missouri. Now I've got probably some of the most urban parts of what Kansas City's district was, but now I've got the suburban areas and also rural. So it's not like I've gone from the city to the
Right.
farmland. It's like
Mhm.
actually everything and in between. So I think it's a beautiful way to coalition build. And we know as progressives, the only way to expand this tent is through a progressive vision. So we're going to have folks who are going to hear this message in farmland, Missouri, who have felt this urge, but they hadn't had anybody say it to them. And now they're going to get a 33-year-old black man who says a rural New Deal is yours. Oh, y'all, that's powerful. That's powerful. So all eyes are going to be on this race, and I'm just so excited. And we couldn't do it without PDA, our first
Thank
ever
you.
endorsement. Love you, brother.
Well, we love you, and also, this is a lot of the reason why I think of Hartzell Gray. He's a fantastic guy, and this is only one of the things that we know him as, but
I just let you in.
The Zoran Mamdani of the Midwest. So thank you for that, Hartzell, and you can see all the love coming in on the emojis. With that, let's go quickly to Mike Fox for our PDA to dos for the week, then Donna Smith, then right on to Ro Khanna. So, Mike Fox, you're up. Welcome, welcome, Mike.
And I've got a machine that's getting really, really slow. So in any event, don't know if there's my camera finally deciding to come on. In any event, sorry for the technical challenges, gang. I'm the guy who's much better at human-to-human interaction than machine-human interaction. I apologize. So to-dos, let's make it quick, high energy, because we got an election on Tuesday, gang. So number one, to do, as always, revel in the fact that you're surrounded by people who get it here. Each and every Sunday, we are here building community, showing solidarity with each other, and candidly providing some health care for each other. It's just plain healthy to be hanging out with folks who share your vision in very difficult times. So let's all think about that. Before you start typing in the chat, we would ask that what you're typing, ask yourself, how am I inspiring my fellow PDA folk with what I'm about to say here? Okay. We all know about the bad news. Bottom line, there, no question, we are faced with the single largest challenge we've had as a democracy. And definitely in our lifetimes, you can say definitely over the course of our history. This is a big deal. But we are going to turn this thing around. It can happen, but it can only happen if we stay positive, show solidarity with each other, and weather the storm together. Okay, so let's try to keep it positive as Sister Donna Smith's podcast, Positively Progressive, and let's make some noise. All right, so to do number two is take notes. While this is going on, we're going to be covering quite a few to-dos, especially once we get into family time after the road presentation and questions and all that. But bottom line, we got a big long list. Topping that list from a time and treasure standpoint is number one, Tuesday, Afton Baines special election primary in Tennessee 7. This is huge, gang. We can pick up this seat and we can pick it up with a solid PDA progressive. And that's Tuesday. So we got to have everybody on the phones. We got to have the phones on fire here, gang. And PDA's strength is in the fact that we have folks from every state in the union in this room right now. We all need to pile on and make sure she wins that primary and wins it big on Tuesday. So all we're looking for is an hour. And literally, we got people on the phones right now as we speak. I'm here for this presentation. However, if you want to jump on the phones today before 8 o'clock Central, get to pdamerica.org/volunteer, click today, bang, I'll get that email, I'll get you set up. Okay. So literally, we're working right now, and hit me up at pdamerica.org/volunteer. We'll make something happen, rapid response. Okay. And then if you can't make calls today, Monday, we need every person here on the phones on Monday in a big way. And phone bankers, we've got a lot of them on this call. If you're a phone banker, identify yourself as such and let us know why it is you do it. Toss in with your comment, pdamerica.org/volunteer. Okay. Now that's from a time standpoint. We've got a lot of other things going on as well, but we're just going to focus on that for now. From a treasure standpoint, we take great pride at PDA in that the majority of our work is done by volunteer labor. It's just spiritually right. However, we got to keep the lights on, gang. Our database management tool costs money, et cetera, et cetera. So With that in mind, I'm not looking for a specific dollar amount today. What we are looking for is solidarity. Everybody, a buck. Just toss in a buck. If you can toss in more than that, please do. But let's all come together as a team here and make sure that we keep this ball moving. Okay. Thanks so much, and I'll be back at the top of the hour to find out where we are in our goals. And again, stick around for family time. We'll dive more deeply into the other list of to-dos. Okay. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you so much. And so before we get to Khanna, let's hear now from our the chair of PDA's advisory council, the great Donna Smith. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, great. Thanks, Alan. I heard you say that you had significant parenting obligations this weekend, right? The father of a teenage girl, correct?
Yeah.
Look at that face, everybody. Have we felt that before? Yes, we have. Show some empathy for brother Alan today. Some parenting weekends are more fun than others, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Yes, they are. And Ro, how can, what a wonderful guy, and, whatever aspirations he's got for the future, I hope they will be more than attained by him. He's coming to Colorado this month in October. We're hoping, if there's a gala happening for the Dems here. I'm not really the gala sort of chick, but if it were Khanna, I might have to find a way to do something different. Anyway, another thing, Mike Fox always talks to us about phone banking, and dear Mike pushes for this, and he's been so good about this with PDA. But I want you all to know, one of the things I loved the most when I was doing a lot of bus tours and a lot of different things, not only with the nurses, but with PDA, and we were pushing not only for the Affordable Care Act, yes, we did, because we wanted Obama to be elected. And I had so much fun on those phone banking stops when we would stop in little offices in different states and sit with people and call people. Right at the moment, a lot of us get automated calls, don't we? AI calls that are telling us what to do. How refreshing it is and was to have actual human-to-human conversation, especially right now with what's going on in the country. Yes, I believe we've got to look positively to the future, but I do know today, I feel so badly for brothers and sisters all across the country who are federal employees who are not getting paid. I remember the days when our children were little, going without my pay. Oh my word. Just one of us without pay would have instantly been a crisis on how to pay the family bills. So I certainly am thinking this weekend about all those people who know they'll eventually get back pay. We guess this administration will do that and honor that. Although they haven't honored everything, have they? But what we do need is supporting people like Afton. If Mike would help me and people were game for it, we could have a little Zoom phone banking party for Afton tomorrow night for an hour or something. I'd love to do that with people. That would be a blast. But maybe we can figure something out, Mike, that we can do that would be fun and quick. I also want to give a shout out, a very positive shout out to our sister, Susan Gilbert. Here, our state coordinator and chapter leader here in Denver, Colorado. Susan always helps so much. We do have a state PAC where we can look at candidates state and locally. But Susan not only does that, but she does the thankless job of seeing people who want to be endorsed early and want lots of things done early, and trying to figure out how to motivate volunteers and how to get people to do things and have time to do those things. And Alan, this volunteer-run organization that is PDA literally has changed the world. You know that. We have changed the world. And now we have the chance perhaps to do it again. If in your mind, perhaps Ro is one of those people that may have this path, maybe as Bernie did many years ago, somehow, Ro very different, right? But it's a very different time. And I think Bernie would even acknowledge that. This is a very different time. It's a frightening time. There's possibility out there. But unless we all act together, and we are going to act together those of us who are in PDA. Susan and I are working on one of our virtual No Kings events for the 18th of October. So we'll keep everybody posted about that. Last time it blew us out on how many people signed up. And talk about, I had to sign up for a bigger Zoom room, one that would take 1,000 people in order to hold the number of people who came to that Zoom. And the power of that, people from all over the country who felt isolated, who felt alone, frightened, didn't know what they could do, was enormous. It was enormous. So I expect it will be this time too. So we will keep you posted on that link for those who are unable or don't have any but way to get to a physical No Kings event. This may be a wonderful alternative. And finally, Alan, I unfortunately turned on the Netflix series about that horrible Ed Gein. I'm watching it, and our dear beloved Mimi Kennedy was on the screen. I was like, oh my word, Mimi's talking. She was playing the psychologist who worked early on with Anthony Perkins during the filming of Psycho. So it was, I thought, wow, our PDA people go everywhere. Anyway, people, we got to stay together in this time. Who knows what's going on with Gaza and Trump and Netanyahu in the game? More bombing is still occurring today. Yes, Alan, is still occurring there. People are still dying, and the whole world just seems to need something very different. And I think progressives can help bring that. If we can keep our message clear and out there with people like Hartzell and people who are willing to risk and get out there and do it. So thanks, Alan. And the episode of Positively Progressive with Michael Neal has been sent as a file to you, but if you didn't get it, I'll resend it.
Please do that. Thank you. Now, Mike Olis is going to launch what is a recorded interview with Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna was going to join us live, but yesterday he contacted me, very apologetic, and a family obligation took him away from this time. He has agreed to come back live just for Q&A with PDA audiences on October 26th or earlier. So Mike Lowe is the name of the person in there who's putting the stuff in chat. If we can remove Mike Lowe from this meeting, that would be great, everybody. They have ways of sort of disrupting the Zoom software, the people who do this. When this happened to us, when Jabal Bowman was our guest, it turned out it was coming from Romania, of all places. We did research on it. So we apologize again for the horrible messages that are coming through. It is not from us. Mike Olis, are you able to unmute right now? Mike Olis.
Yes, ready to share.
We're ready to share. Great. And I just want to say then, everybody should understand that we are getting twice as much Ro Khanna as we thought we were going to get. We have this long interview that I recorded just yesterday with him. Again, he'll say very early on, he apologizes for missing. He was drawn away by family. For about the first 2 minutes, there are very slight hiccups in the video transmission that we recorded. Now Nathan Rowe needs to be removed from the chat, please, everybody. So the after 2 minutes, it's entirely clean. I've broken it up into 3 parts just so everybody can catch their breath, and I can remind people to take notes so that they can have questions for Roe when Roe returns in 3 weeks to be our featured live guest on that town hall on October 26th. Again, of all of the interviews, Jane Doe now also needs to be removed. These all seem to rhyme, all of the names of the people coming in with OW as the last 2 letters. So we apologize again about those chats. Let's now go to the recording of my dialogue, just recorded less than about 20 hours ago actually about 18 hours ago with Ro Khanna. And this is the first third of it, and then we'll be back for just a brief update. Go for it, Mike Fowler, Mike Olis.
And welcome, everybody. As you can tell here, I'm joined by Representative Ro Khanna. And Ro Khanna is really one of the most active progressive leaders in the country and in the world, quite frankly, right now. And we are honored to have him here joining us. And he is, of course, the congressperson from California's 17th District. He was previously in the Obama administration in the Commerce Department. And in 2016, he endorsed Bernie Sanders for president. And in 2020, he was the co-chair of the Bernie Sanders for President campaign. And welcome to our town hall, Ro Khanna.
Thank you, Alan. Great to be with you. I apologize that we're doing this a little bit before. I had a commitment, a family commitment that I couldn't get out of, but I look forward to our conversation, and I look forward to joining in a few weeks live so we can have some live questions. But I'm really excited about doing this.
Thank you so much. And I want to start off because, I know that you have been touring the country. And I actually caught your appearance at St. Anselm's College in New Hampshire on C-SPAN. And obviously, we're at a point of a serious crisis, political and frankly, social. I mean, it really goes to the depths of the organization of American society, the nature of this crisis. But how are you finding the people out across America, both in terms of their commitment to the constitutional republic, to democracy, and how they're responding to the crises revolving around the Trump administration?
Well, they're resilient, they're courageous, they're determined. The amount of people who are showing up to town halls, who are showing up to No Kings rallies, who are showing up to protest the excesses of ICE against undocumented families and undocumented kids is inspiring. It's what gives me hope about this country. And the reality is we have two tasks. We have to use every procedural tool to prevent the president's unconstitutional actions, the assault on speech, suing the New York Times, suing the independent media organizations, suing CBS, pressuring Disney, pressuring universities to fire academics who they disagree with, pressuring people to be fired if they made comments critical of Charlie Kirk, pressuring people to be fired, the attacks on the science and research funding. I mean, there's so many fronts, but at the same time, we also need to provide an alternative. We have to understand that the anger in the American public that feels that the American dream has slipped away, that feels that income inequality is tearing us apart, and offer a transformative vision that's actually going to improve people's lives, to convince people that their families, their kids are going to have a chance of the 21st century. So we have to be oppositional, but also inspirational, and that is the task of progressive politics.
And you have bravely gone into some conservative strongholds and particularly spoken to Trump supporters. What's your experience been when you've met Trump supporters out across the country and spoken with them?
Well, they have a sense of anger and loss, that they have a loss of economic dignity, where they feel that jobs left, to the communities were hollowed out, that the working and middle class really got shafted. But there's also a sense of cultural loss that they feel, a sense that the country's changed. The country's changed culturally, and in some cases changed in ways that they did not anticipate, or that makes them uncomfortable. And I think without compromising our principles, we need to be able to have that dialogue with respect and openness and empathy and understanding, and then to say that we can have still a patriotic, aspirational vision to bring this country together, that we have to blend a respect for the country's traditions with an embrace of the new ideas and new culture that people bring. So it's both an economic and a cultural anxiety about America. And I often say that, the threshold question is, would you rather be born in 1976, when I was born in America, or 2025? We've made so many advances in healthcare, in environment, in life expectancy. And yet when I go around the country, often I'm disheartened that many people raise their hand saying 1976. The task for the Democrats and for the progressive movement is to convince people it's 2025. Because if you believe in it was better back in the 70s or 50s or 60s, that's what Trump's saying. He's selling nostalgia. And of course, there was a lot less racial and progress, or women's rights progress, and diversity back then. And we have to tackle the fact that today it's much harder on a single income to support a family and to achieve the American dream. How are we going to make that possible? How are we going to provide a composite vision of a patriotism that includes people who've been here generations and also includes someone like me who's a son of immigrants? These are the deep questions of our politics.
I encourage anybody out there, upon hearing what Representative Khanna just said, to check out any of his dialogues with Americans across the country that you can find anywhere on whatever platform. They will renew your sense of faith in the country going forward. Now, you have gone bravely where almost no other person, no Democrat in Congress has gone, and forged a working relationship with some Republicans, and doing so without compromising your principles at all, and most notably around the Epstein files. So, first off, obviously these have dominated the news at times over the last few months and are set to do so again very soon. If you could just outline for the audience why you chose to, get yourself so involved in this subject, what it means for the country, what it means for people's sense of faith in the government, and just the general significance of the Epstein files. And then secondarily, maybe talk about how what it's been like working with the three Republican women who have agreed to sign on to demanding that the Epstein files be opened up under your leadership and the leadership of Republican Representative Massey.
Well, it started out because I shared a sense of frustration as I had gone around the country that many people have, Republican, Democrat, or independent, that government is protecting the rich and powerful and isn't working for them, that the country's economy and system has sort of been rigged against the working and middle class. And so when the Epstein files issue came out and Trump and Bondi are going back on their promise, I said, this is going to degrade trust in our government at a time where people already are very skeptical. And I had worked with Thomas Massie on stopping the war in Iran, and Massie saw one of my tweets and he said, why don't we collaborate and do this issue of forcing the release of the Epstein files? As I got deeper into this, I've had the privilege of meeting some of the survivors, and then it just became personal. I mean, I was so moved by the stories that they were telling, disgusted by them, of being raped at the age of 14, of being told to go recruit junior high students, knowing that those students would be raped. And so now then it became, I'm going to really fight for this because it's standing up for survivors. It's standing up to protect our children. It's the most basic value. And it turns out that, when you talk about things in terms of values, you can find unlikely alliances. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene gave me a hug at the press conference because we were so moved by the survivors' testimony. It was on the front page of DC. Here's why this issue is powerful. For the longest time, we've been attacking Trump, and there's a lot of reason to call him out for all the things I talked about in my first answer. Mm-hmm. But this is now us aligning with part of the MAGA base to attack the system. And I think what is far more powerful in taking on Trumpism is to attack a system that hasn't worked and say Trump has now become co-opted with that system. He did not change that system. We are on the side of changing the system that isn't working for ordinary Americans. And so it's not just then, okay, there's another attack on Trump. This is a party that's trying to bring change and hold rich and powerful people accountable and have a government that actually works for people. The Democratic Party has to recapture the party of being anti-status quo.
And my understanding is the signatories are still lined up such that when Adelita Grijalva is sworn in, this could very well be going forward very soon.
It would be incredible. I mean, Johnson keeps canceling votes. We haven't voted since September 23rd. And he knows the day that they vote, that was when Adelita Grijalva won. And the day that we vote, she will be sworn in. She'll be 218 signatory on the petition, and that'll force a vote in 7 days. In my 9 years of Congress, we've never had a vote from a discharge petition. It's an extraordinary effort, and I give all the credit to the survivors for the press conference that they had outside the Capitol. But Thomas Massie and I have been working it, and we've retained Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Nancy Mace, and the president hasn't been able to push them off the discharge petition. So we need to get Adelita Grijalva sworn in. Johnson's canceling votes. I mean, it's absurd. We need to have votes to pay the troops during a shutdown. We need to have votes to try to reopen government. So the only reason he's canceled votes next week is he doesn't want Grijalva to sworn in. He wants to buy time for the president to try to push one of the Republicans off the discharge petition, but I don't think it will work. We've got to keep the pressure on Grijalva to be sworn in, and then we will get a vote in the House. And I think if we get a vote in the House, we could get 50 to 60 Republican House members voting for this. I mean, they're not going to vote to not release the Epstein files once it's an actual vote. And that will be the most consequential blow to the Trump administration, painting them as part of the corrupt elite since he's walked down the escalator.
Well, I'll be asking you about National Security Memo 7 in a little while, about him flipping around and being all the authoritarian establishment that he could possibly ever dream of being, because he's going there fast. But I did want to highlight at the top, though, you've also been very active and outspoken in terms of Palestine, Gaza, Israel. Obviously, when we're speaking right now, we're sort of in some unclear space as to whether a ceasefire is going to hold. Trump would be calling it more than a ceasefire, would call it a peace. We've seen this sort of before, and we can be skeptical about it. But first of all, your analysis of the moment as we talk again on the evening of Saturday, October 4th, 2025, and then about your petition, which we in PDA fully support. And as we're speaking, and this is playing on the town hall tomorrow, we'll drop into the chat the link so that everybody on the call can sign on to your petition calling for the United States to recognize the state of Palestine.
Well, thank you. I've gotten obviously a huge incoming attacks because of some of my positions on this from AIPAC, from Laura Loomer, from right-wing trolls. It's because this is why politicians are reluctant to take this position. But to me, it's a human rights position. My grandfather, as you know, Alan, was part of Gandhi's independence movement, spent 4 years in jail. It's in my blood to stand up for what's right. It goes to not just your view on human rights in Palestine and in Israel. It goes to whether you're willing to take the hard fights, whether you're willing to suffer the consequences that may come in terms of attacks, to stand up for justice. So our letter calls for the recognition of a Palestinian state, not Hamas, not militarized, that recognizes Israel's right to exist as a Jewish democratic homeland. It's what France has called for. It's what England has called for. It's what Canada has called for. 150 countries, 4 out of the 5 Security Council countries. By the way, I was just in China on a delegation, and China is winning a lot of the global south because we have isolated ourselves on this issue. We need to follow and recognize a Palestinian state and Palestinian national aspirations. The second thing is we need to stop military sales to Netanyahu, which are being used to kill civilians. Until we know that there is a peace and that there is a total end to this war and the hostages released, but also a complete peace, we cannot be continuing the missiles to Netanyahu. And I've supported both the Sanders amendments and Delia Ramirez's courageous work of the No Bombs Act in the Congress. So what is the situation now? I mean, look, I hope it holds. I hope the hostages are released. I hope Israel withdraws. I hope there's a Palestinian association with elections that allow the Palestinians to have say in what Gaza is. I don't think it should be Donald Trump and Tony Blair running Gaza, nor do I think it's allowable for Israel to retain a large military presence there, or a military presence there at all. And so the details here matter. And I'm hoping that there's going to be peace. But I will say this is a real test of the Democratic Party. One is, are you still in the pocket of taking money and listening to AIPAC? And two, are you going to be articulating a vision of justice and human rights that's consistent with where the rest of the world opinion is on this, or are we going to continue to be a pariah? This is going to play out in our 2026 elections. It's going to play out in primaries across the country, and for our leaders in the House, the Senate, and ultimately the White House. Where do they stand on this issue? It may not poll the highest, but it's a sort of character-defining issue of the party.
Thank you there. Now, Mike, if you can unshare your screen while you get ready to launch the second of the 3 parts of my dialogue with Ro Khanna. It was recorded late last evening, actually. And I put into the chat the petition that Ro Khanna is circulating. You can see that there in the chat. I'll add it even right now, so it'll pop up live for people. And please click on that if you like and share it with your friends and sign on. It is a Roe-led initiative, and it is calling for the United States to recognize a Palestinian state to join with countries like the UK, France, Australia, and a whole set of other countries. I mean, dozens of countries around the world, of course. But some of our strongest allies have taken this step very recently, and to actively, in the present, recognize the existence of a Palestinian state. So we're going to go to the second part. I want to again thank the staff for containment of we were Zoom bombed again, but we've gotten through it, and we have 428 people. We've had even a few more on at a certain just a handful more of people. So everybody's sticking with us, which is great. We're going to go to part 2 of my dialogue. I just wanted to launch pause here in the hope that maybe people could write in the chat, but we've shut the chat down. I hope people will just be patient with us. We've done this to protect everybody from the obscene and terrible and hateful messages that we get when we're Zoom bombed like this. And we're doing our best. This is the best I think we can do with the technical infrastructure of Zoom as it exists. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. And Mike, whenever you're ready to launch part 2, and remember, Roe's going to join us live in 3 weeks and take your questions. And there won't be any preliminary dialogue that I'll have with Roe. This is that preliminary dialogue. Here now is part 2 of my
what
conversation.
I want to do now, folks, is go through sort of a rapid fire, just set of questions. If you actually go, as I just did a few minutes ago, because I want to make sure, and of course I know Roe's biography well, but I'm getting every fact right. I went to the Wikipedia page, and you click on the part on the left-hand column where they have a sort of makeshift table of contents on the U.S. House of Representatives, and the number of issues that Noah Khanna has produced groundbreaking legislation on is legion, folks. It is one of the longest lists, by the way, I've ever seen for U.S. It was maybe a speaker or somebody is maybe Pelosi would have had something this long in their day, but it's an incredibly long list of issues, and Ro Khanna has been touring the country talking to people, and so I want to go through a whole just set of things in a rapid fire way. And you just mentioned something that is right at the top. You and people may not know this, along with Summer Lee, spearheaded a call for the restriction of big money in politics. And what's your sense on one of the PDA-led initiatives of getting big money donations, dark money donations out of Democratic Party primaries?
3 quick things on this. Obviously, the long term is overturn Citizens United, but it's very hard to pass an amendment, so we have to do more than that. Right. Second, we've got to support Summer Lee in my bill, which is very simple. Why is it that the maximum contribution someone can give me or Summer is $7,000, but they can turn around and write $1 million check to a super PAC? It makes no sense. Even under Citizens United, we should be able to regulate a super PAC to say a super PAC can't get any more money than a candidate. That would effectively end super PACs. That's what Summer Lee and my legislation does. Third, the DNC unilaterally can support ending super PACs in Democratic primaries. We can't unilaterally disarm against the Republicans, but Democratic primaries. If you have a super PAC that spends for you, like they did against my friend Jamal Bowman, every dollar you spend, the campaign that is being helped by that super PAC needs to give money in to donate that money into the public. And so there are ways to address this issue, and we need to abolish super PACs in Democratic primaries.
Quickly, as a quick flip back to international issues, and then as we go into economy, we'll go to tariffs and trade first. But first on international issues, a recasting of the centrality of international law. Do you see that as essential for the framework of a progressive foreign policy going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we need to uphold international law in the United States, which is the Leahy Law, which is a commitment to human rights. And then we need to be willing to do the hard work of diplomacy with other great powers to be establishing international law, whether it's on privacy, whether it's on AI, whether it's on climate. And that's going to be a big task of a future Democratic administration.
And again, for the audience who don't know, not only from his work in the Commerce Department during the Obama administration, but because of the totality of all that he understands and knows about global economics, Ro Khanna is one of the most trusted politicians in the country when it comes to considerations of international economics. Your thoughts on Trump's trade policies and the tariffs he's imposing, and your sense of what a just and fair trade and tariffs could look like. And again, this is a 1-minute answer, so no need to go into too much detail. It's a very tough subject to do that on, but go for it. Yeah.
Well, we should not have tariffs on coffee. I have a bill to repeal that, and that's symbolic of having tariffs on things we don't make in America, repeal all the tariffs on food, repeal the tariffs on consumer products that aren't made here. I often joke that we fought a revolution in this country over the tax on tea. We should be fighting the revolution now on the tax on coffee. But of course, there's a need to have industry here. We offshore too much. There's a need for federal industrial policy that has to be federal financing, though, combined with workforce development, combined with strategic tariffs to protect industry. You first need industry before it can be protected. And so just having a tariff is not going to produce a new steel factory. And of course, the economic development needs to be diversified. So places like Grand Rapids or Pittsburgh or Raleigh that have succeeded in a comeback have diversified economies. Yes, they have advanced manufacturing, but they have a lot of diversification. And so we need economic development of a 21st century approach that has advanced manufacturing, workforce development, but also an understanding of the importance of universities, education, healthcare, hospitals in the ecosystem of a modern economy.
And your thoughts on the fragility of the American economy as we speak, 8, 9 months into the Trump administration?
Well, it seems very fragile. I mean, obviously, jobs numbers are down, private sector jobs are actually negative. We didn't have a jobs report because of the shutdown, but those numbers haven't been good. The growth has slowed, as you would expect if you have blanket tariffs and massive restriction on immigration. Immigration contributes to both bringing down price with the agricultural workers, but also increasing production. So if you're going after science funding, you're going after universities, you're curtailing immigration, you're having high tariffs, you're trying your best to have a sledgehammer to the American economy. Now, there are parts of the AI advancement and I think the bubble around it, some of it merit, some of it perhaps too much, that has kept the economy afloat despite irrational policies. But I think we have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of risk.
On immigration, maybe you just cited the fact of immigration being obviously a sum positive. However, it is a space where Trump's policies, of course, they're seen great. Oh, he's gone way past what is just, and many people are appalled by that. But it remains a space in which Democrats have not had a popular set of policies. How would you tackle that broadly as you speak to the American public about something that is a sum plus for the economy?
Well, we need to have a secure border. By that, we need to know who's coming into the country. If someone comes to your house, they knock, you say, who's there? And before you let them in, I think that's a very reasonable request. But then we need to make the case that people who are here, who are working hard or paying taxes, that they should be legalized, that they should have a part of contributing to this economy. We shouldn't have them in the shadows and create the kind of shortages that we have today and create the lack of economic growth that we have today. And we need to have a code of conduct for ICE agents. I mean, they can't just be going and separating kids from moms. They can't be going and harassing American citizens. There has to be some accountability to how we treat people in this country with the law enforcement agencies.
Thank you for that answer. And again, I think maybe one thing we'll be working on at PDA, and as always, when we work on something at PDA, we'll work in coordination with Ro Khanna and our allies in Congress, but very close allies such as Ro Khanna, and really starting to articulate out to the American public how absolutely unacceptable what has been transpiring in Los Angeles and Portland, around the whole country, in fact. And then we saw in Chicago in an apartment building scenes that are absolutely appalling. So quickly to healthcare. We obviously have this being one of the central focus of the way the Democrats are highlighting the problems with the budget going forward and the shutdown that's occurring right now. Your thoughts on the shutdown, then your thoughts on it as it relates to healthcare, and then I'll have a follow-up question on healthcare.
My first thought is that we should make it clear that the Republicans can pass the budget to keep the government open. They can have 51 senators. They've passed in the House, and the president. If we can have an exception to the filibuster to appoint presidents, to confirm the president's appointees, and to confirm judges, and to have a budget reconciliation, then why can't we have an exception to have a continuing resolution so that the government doesn't shut down? It's the most obvious thing. And, people understandably feel the Democrats are a bit feckless and haven't been effective. It's implausible that the Democrats are the ones who are holding all this up. We don't have enough power to hold it all up. So we've got to remind people that it's really the Republicans in charge. Secondly, we say if you really want Democratic votes, to give it a cloak of bipartisanship, we're not going to give you our votes knowing that the healthcare premiums are going to double. They're going to double for anyone on the exchange, 24 million Americans. And we've got to extend those tax credits to make sure healthcare costs don't skyrocket.
And on healthcare, we have a great candidate out in Missouri. We're trying to figure out what district he's running in as they change the districts in Missouri. And he just very clearly sees that all the chaos that continues to be imposed upon American families as the Republicans pull away things from the ACA and everything is fought back over about continuing tax breaks, et cetera, that now is really a time to highlight Medicare for all. How do you feel about that? And maybe if you can say just a word about your bill to make it easier for states to pursue single-payer universal health care in individual states.
Well, this is the time to make the case for Medicare for all, to make the case that we can't be burdening people with high premiums. We can't have a Affordable Care Act just that is at the whims of the next Republican majority and the back and forth in our politics. We need to have health care as a human right. People need to have that once they are born, and they should have the option of going to see any doctor and any nurse. Everyone becomes in network. And by the way, we need it especially today when there is such a tax on companies to hire people that they have to provide this health insurance. And it's one of the biggest reasons for the increase of cost of living that people are facing. So in an affordability crisis, if we could take healthcare costs out of it, that would go a long way. And I was just actually talking to Senator Nina Turner about this over a phone call. We were texting that this is the time to really push for Medicare for all.
Oh, that's beautiful. Our guest last week on our town hall, Senator Turner.
So there is the end of part 2, and we'll go to part 3 very shortly. Again, I want to thank Mike Olis for the great work, and for everybody who's sticking with us on this call. We again apologize about the Zoom bombing earlier in the call. We still have well over 400 people on the call, and again, when Rose joining us in 2 weeks, please get 3 of your friends to attend, folks. Let's pack this Zoom room as much as we can possibly pack it and have everybody here in dialogue with Ro Khanna on October 26th is the scheduled date where he'll be returning. By the way, next week we're hoping to get either one of the next 2 weeks, the president, again, a return visit from the president of American Federations for Government Employees, perhaps the union most under siege in the Trump era of any union in the entire country. Very important that we stand in solidarity with the AFG, and President Everett Kelly might be joining us again next week or the following week. And we hope to get Cori Bush, by the way, back on sometime soon. So Mike Olis, are we ready with part 3? And after part 3, let's open up the room and we'll hear from Mike Fox with our PDA to-dos, and then we'll go straight to your questions and thoughts on what Ro is saying. And remember, Ro will be back in 3 weeks live to take your questions, but we'd love to hear your thoughts today following the end of the third of 3 parts of my interview recorded late last evening, so just yesterday, within 24 hours, with Representative Ro Khanna. And now to part 3 of that interview, Mike Olis, if it's ready to cue. Of course, I can let folks know that.
1 second. Sorry, Alan, I have 2 videos up, so make sure I got the right one.
Sure thing. And thank you, Mike Olis, for incredible work in the background, and all of the staff today. They're just doing incredible work. Mike Thaler, Matt Fouts, Susan Gilbert, Mike Fox, Mike Thaler, and Mike Olis. We have so many mics on staff, and Mike Hirsch too. So many mics on staff here at PDA. Again, we're going to go to the third part of our 3-part interview with Ro Khanna, and just as the first 2 parts, Ro is super sharp in this. So I think we're ready to go.
Okay,
Take
so
it away.
quickly, we're going to end on your general thoughts on a question I'll bring you, but I do want to bring up first the climate emergency, which seems like something that we've just it's just pulled back away from anything that can be addressed as Trump goes on such a counteroffensive. And then after that, I'll ask you about National Security Memo 7, and then about the Constitution being remade whole by Democrats going forward. So first, your thoughts on addressing the climate emergency and what Democrats need to emphasize as they communicate out to the public, and progressives need to out to the public in light of how Trump has been so atrocious on this matter.
Now we need to declare a climate emergency. I mean, I don't understand how Biden was so resistant to doing that. And then Trump gets in on day 1, declares a border emergency. The sky didn't fall down. I mean, we need, as when we're in power, to declare a climate emergency. That young people have been calling on us to do that, and we need to explain clearly that there are catastrophic costs as my state is facing with the wildfires. It's costs in terms of home insurance, costs in terms of rebuilding, costs in terms of families' entire possessions destroyed. This is not theoretical. We know that storms are worse, cataclysmic events are worse, that the estimates of the costs of climate crisis unmitigated are 15 to 20 trillion dollars for the world. We need to act now, and then we can talk about what that means: getting rid of fossil fuel subsidies that I've led on, making sure that we have massive investment in solar and wind and renewable and battery technology, and small modular nuclear as an all-in approach on energy, doubling down on electric vehicles, on new technology that's going to be energy efficient, and building a public transportation system that really can tackle with climate.
I'm going to throw in an extra question here very quickly. These are all things that I know you could hold forth on for quite a while, especially this next one. But obviously, you are one of the two representatives and the main representative from Silicon Valley. You have a relationship with the titans of Silicon Valley. It would strike me that the people there, as far off the rails as so many have gone politically, that they could be motivated to really help address the climate emergency. Is that your sense, that there is an appetite there in the region you are that has produced, again, so many phenomenal things for the world and so many troubles politically recently? But your thoughts on that are
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they are led in clean technology during the Obama years, and they still care about batteries and EVs and solar. I mean, Elon Musk it could have gone a different way if, when we had given him the grant with Tesla, we'd insisted on labor neutrality and unionization.
Yeah.
That was the fatal mistake. But the point is that climate is going to require technological solutions. It's going to require us to really think about how we scale electric vehicles, scale battery technology, scale solar, scale wind, scale small modular nuclear reactors. And a lot of that can be done with the proper legislation and partnership with Silicon Valley.
So now to one of the darkest declarations for the Trump administration, National Security Memo 7, pretty much declaring war on the left, and ostensibly organizations like the one that I'm honored to lead here at Progressive Democrats of America, which is absurd. We are one of the most benign, and then we think we just consider our work to be trying to do the best we possibly can for all of people on the entire planet. And yet, so many of my peers and people I work with around the country are absolutely stunned into a gas silence by things like National Security Memo 7. Your thoughts on that, and again, just your reflections on that and how we hold it together and move forward in light of this kind of threat.
Well, it hasn't gotten enough attention. It's worse than the Patriot Act. And I ran my first campaign opposed to the war in Iraq and Patriot Act in 2003 in a primary against Tom Lantos. I lost 71-19, but this is an issue. If you care about civil liberties, you need to be vocal on. Ken Kippelstein, an independent journalist, really raised this in an important way. But this says that if you're advocating something that is quote unquote anti-American, anti-capitalist, anti-Christian, that the government can unleash investigations against you and find that you're engaged in un-American and terrorist activities. It's a incredibly broad, sweeping power to the executive branch to stifle political association and speech. It's clearly unconstitutional under the First Amendment, but we need more people speaking up against it.
Any statement you put out over the next few days, we will amplify to the max. So we'll look for that. And thank you so much for what you just said. It was beautifully articulated right there. Okay, so to end, let's just end with these two together. We at PDA are committed to working in particular with allies like Ro Khanna and Jamie Raskin in Congress to try to bring into the Democratic Party platform heading to 2028 the idea that we will make the Constitution whole again. So if you can combine your thoughts on what that will take, given the damage that's being done to the Constitution currently, the way that the executive branch is marginalizing Congress and stepping out of its bounds, combined with your thoughts on a progressive future in the coming years for the United States of America.
Well, it's so important that we have structural reform, constitutional reform when we're in power. I mean, that means reform of the Supreme Court, term limits on the Supreme Court, rethinking the composition of the court, which hasn't been done for years. It means, in my view, abolishing the electoral college. It means banning money in politics, having an amendment that would really overturn Citizens United. It means making it clear that the president has to follow Congress when we appropriate something. That has not been codified, I guess, and we need to figure out how do we really codify that. We need stronger protections for federal workers for being fired for without cause, and a mechanism to do that. And Jamie, I'm sure, has other ideas, but I think that there really needs to be both constitutionally and legally thoughts about what we need to do to protect us against that kind of authoritarian overreach in the future. But that's not enough. We need to really offer an alternative to cynicism and despair that MAGA represents. How are we to prevent the rise of Trumpism? We have to address the causes of Trumpism, a sense of hopelessness and cynicism and anger at our government. And we need to offer a vision of this country that is going to inspire us again, to be big again, not just to trade insult for insult, to make us smaller and devolve into losing the American ethos and American spirit for excellence. We need to tackle income inequality. We need to have a tax on wealth. We need to fight for Medicare for all, childcare $10 a day, free public college, a livable wage, tackling the core economic inequality that is dividing us. And then we need to figure out how do we have economic development, a Marshall Plan, not for Europe, but for America, that we see an economic building and resilience and prosperity for every family and every community in America. I call that a new economic patriotism that gets us marching again, like we were in the America my parents came through to in the Kennedy years, where we were going to the moon, where we were doing big things. We need a new national purpose. And if the left can provide that with a clearly articulated role for government in collaboration with the civic sector, with faith leaders, with labor, with private leaders, then I think we can overcome the darkest forces, which are not just Donald Trump, but the cynicism and despair lying underneath it.
Ro Khanna, let me just say this while you're still here and we have about 45 seconds left. It is truly my belief that going forward in between 2026 and 2028 and 2028 forward, however Ro Khanna's role can increase in the oversight of American governance, I think will be to the benefit, the serious, serious benefit of the American people. I think you are just a phenomenal contemporary congressperson. And when I tell people out there there's great progressive leadership in this country, I will direct them to pay attention to the works, words, and career of Ro Khanna. Thank you so much for joining
Well,
me.
thank you. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you to PDA. We need you. This is the time to be mobilized. So I'm grateful to be part of this movement.
Thank you so much, and see you again in a few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
And that was Ro Khanna. And thank you, Mike Olis, so much for sharing your screen and running those 3 videos. And now that came through really clearly for me. I hope it came through clearly for everybody whenever we share screen and run video. Judging from the fact that we lost so few audience members, I'm assuming that was the case. So thank you for people who are giving thumbs up and letting me know that it came through clearly. And thank you again. Look, I will be trying to always to prioritize having live guests. And Ro Khanna was highly apologetic about having to not be available. When we set this up and we set out all the notices about him appearing here, we thought that Ro would be live. But look, we got Ro for all that time to say as much about his worldview and his beliefs about American society. And now he's going to come back in a few weeks and be in dialogue with all of you and all of your friends, family members, and coworkers that you invite along to join us. To have an even larger crowd than this great sized crowd that we had today here on a Sunday afternoon, a beautiful fall Sunday afternoon here in America. So let's go. We're going to hear from Don Smith. Please, by all measures, would love you at the top of the stack. Always love your contributions, Don. And let's create a stack for commentary on Ro. But before we go to that stack, Mike Fox, you're on deck with our PDA to-dos and updates on how we're doing. Hey, by the way, folks, PDA really does need to raise money. I got to say this. I know that Mike is very gracious in the way that he doesn't press asking for donations, but I really would encourage people to donate to us. Not only are we doing more than ever, and they does cost a lot, and we're very involved with a whole set of elections across the country, Virginia, New Jersey coming up, the New York City mayoral's race, of course, mayor's race, of course. And so we certainly need money. So give what you can when the link is placed in the chat for donations. And we also, of course, like every progressive organization in the country, we need a little bit of a nest eggs there, just a little bit of a amount of money we have to hold in case we do need lawyers. It's just the reality of this moment we're in. So please give, if you're going to give $10, give $12. If you're going to give $20, give $25. If you can afford to. And if you can give $100, give a little bit more than that. And if you can give $2, maybe give $3. Just because we do need to hold on to some extra money in reserve for protecting the organization, progressive, and protecting progressive allies as well, and doing what we can on that extra front of activity. It's tragically unnecessary, but very real and very threatening, and a threat to organizations, no doubt, that try to do the good work, like I mentioned in the dialogue with Roe, that PDA does. Mike Fox, give us our updates, and I'll be back in a minute to take the stack of comments and questions on Roe Khanna.
And thank you for that ask, Alan. You rock. Yeah, not only a potential legal fund, likewise, candidly, as it showed in this call, we were jumping on it, etc. But I'd absolutely love to be able to hire a specialist in this technology stuff. Candidly, gang, what we do really well is talk to voters and get them out. We do that really well. Now, we would love to be able to bring on someone whose expertise is far beyond mine as the button pushing host. And thank you, Michaels, for crushing your end of the button pushing. And thank you, Susan, for crushing your end of the button pushing. We got rid of the problem fairly quickly, but we just got to make sure we don't have the problem. So, anywho, if you can envision a bright, really technologically sharp addition to our crew, that would be wonderful. So toss in what you can to help us make that happen. And now I have my favorite part of the week, the thank yous. I want to thank the following people who have donated today. I want to thank Michael and Jay and Francis and phone banker Mary double dipping, and Charles and Quincy and Dr. Bill. Good to see you again, Dr. Bill. And triple dipping Carl. He drops in a couple of bucks. He phone banks. He door knocks. Thanks for your constant inspiration, Carl, up in Wisconsin. And thank you, Margaret and Jeffrey and Michelle and Valerie and Dr. Deutsch, double dipping Dr. Deutsch as always, hitting the phones and hitting the donations. And thank you, Peter. I called Peter a double dipper. He hadn't been phone banking with us, but I know he's out there in the street knocking doors like nobody's business. So thank you for that, Peter. And Michael, thank you. And Becky and phone banker Jane, double dipping. And phone banker Dr. Sonnenborn, double dipping. And John and phone banker Betsy and Neil and phone banker Nina and Andrew, Debbie, Maxine, phone banker Michael, Bob, our state coordinator out in Missouri. Oh, Mary, double dipping twice. Thank you for that, Mary. And thank you all, everyone. Likewise, I want to thank the folks who have volunteered today. We're still short on goal there, so please do, gang. If you can just give us an hour, Tuesday is election day in Tennessee 7th. So we got to be on the phones in a big way. Even if you can make calls after this call up until 8 o'clock Central Time, hit that volunteer link, pdamerica.org/volunteer. Pick today, and as soon as we get off this call, I'll be getting you all the information that you need. But especially Monday, we have got to have things absolutely cranking on Monday, gang. Okay, so let's make that happen. If you don't see the link, just go to pdamerica.org, and you can click on the website there, either donate or volunteer or both. Double dip if you can. Double dippers rock. Okay, and we'll be back for a deeper dive into our other to-dos once family time commences. But for now, back to Alan. Alan, are you with us?
Yeah, Mike, and I was just checking on the dates. I had sent somebody a note about Afton Bain, and I think I put the wrong district number down, and you got it right. It's the 7th. So I think I have to send a note to one of our great allies I was going to um, thank somebody in particular, but there's somebody who has their hand up, so I'll do that when I get an opportunity to speak to them. Uh, so thank you, Mike Fox, for all of that, and thank you for everybody. Apparently, by the way, when I was mentioning the Zoom bombing in the chat, that only those of us in the staff could see it. I'm glad that the public didn't see that, but we were interrupted that once, and thank you everybody for your patience. Now, I do want staff to know that, as I mentioned, I have a bunch of parental obligations. Well, my daughter's favorite musician has come to town, and she's quite adamant that I have to leave this call at 2:45 to drive her to that location. And considering I only really am obliged to stay till 3, I'm probably going to hand off to Mike Fox at that point. We'll go to family time, but we'll keep the stack open. But now we're still in the main part of this call. And Don Smith, you got to the chat first. I'm going to go to Sheila Goldner second, then Michael, and we'll go from there. But Don Smith, what's on your mind today, and what do you think about Ro Khanna's?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to say, unfortunately, I did see the Zoom bombing, so it wasn't just the staff.
Oh yeah, no, that was the visual. Did you see the chat Zoom bombing?
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't looking at the chat.
Okay, good.
The visual,
Yeah, I don't think the
visual
chat.
I saw.
Yeah, no, that was I knew that was there for everybody. They're able to. We have everybody's video cut off, so they're able to somehow play with the code inside Zoom to be able to break through that. Yeah.
I have to talk, otherwise it's going to cut me off. Oh no. Okay.
Oh no, you go for it.
But for 7 seconds, it cuts you off. So anyway, my question, in response to the Ro Khanna interview, which was good, but he mentioned something about you asked him about the Silicon Valley, the lot of rich CEOs there, rich people there, who some of them are good, some of them are bad. Like Larry Ellison is doing terrible things now, and his son. But anyway, my question is, why on earth aren't there more billionaires willing to give a tiny proportion of their billions of dollars to save democracy and save the world? This is mind-boggling, because they're going to die. They're mortal. A lot of these people are old. Why are they can't take it with them? It just doesn't. I don't understand how they can watch democracy and the world go to trash just to keep a little bit more money. And maybe Ro Khanna could discuss this, or if our politicians would reach out to these billionaires and say, "Listen, we need your help." I mean, of course, the bad billionaires might donate too, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, when Bernie in his second campaign took the position of not accepting any funds from any billionaire. So one billionaire family member gave money and he actually sent it back at maxing out. Made a show of it, which is fine. It's great. Bernie's fantastic on the issue. But I remember when he launched in 2016, one of the people who supported him, and props to this person, was the other co-founder of Apple Computer, not, of course, Steve Jobs, who I think was already dead by 2016, but Steve Wozniak, and was one of the early people who was open about supporting Bernie Sanders. And so they do exist, certainly Ben Cohen from Ben and Jerry's goes above and beyond in terms of what he does for peace causes and justice. In what I said to him, of course, it's not just a matter of the oligarchic CEOs and owners of the companies in Silicon Valley. It's the companies themselves, the capacity of those companies, and what can be done with them. That was also relevant in terms of the climate question. But great point. Look, I do a ton of interviews, and I do stuff on radio, and I do stuff occasionally on TV too. And then I do stuff with journalists. And just recently I did a whole spate of interviews around the universities and the crisis of the universities because of the sign-on letters I was involved in, the one from Jewish Americans, et cetera. And you talk to journalists and you say things and you think the messages might be getting out to the public. But on one front, I spoke to everybody about one thing and none of them quoted me on it. And I realized that it had sort of gone into a void. And that is, I took the opportunity in those interviews to say that I actually have some solidarity right now with, of all people, David Brooks from the New York Times. And he, of course, does a weekly appearance, I think, on the PBS NewsHour. And like a broken record, and to me, from my point of view, to his credit, he has said over and over again that he is appalled at the leaders of institutions in our country, whether it's the heads of universities, law firms, the media, or major corporations have not joined into a compact that essentially says, you hurt any one of us, you hurt all of us. And he's called for this. And, as the head of PDA, we're not really in the best position as PDA on the left wing of the electoral political spectrum I don't have a lot of contacts with CEOs and people like that. But so we're not maybe the group to organize it, but as an organizer and someone who's had some success as an organizer in my life, I really almost feel like I almost wanted to call up David Brooks and say, I'll join you on this. Let's do this. I mean, for the sake of a free and open society and democracy and against fascism, the defense of the Constitution, yes, we know there's still ways in which that could be improved and the governance system could be slightly better. But nevertheless, it's so much better than what's on tap from the fascists. We have to defend it. And you'd think that this group of people would do this, to your point, Don. And so, David Brooks, if you're out there, I'm with you. And I wish I could, help organize with you this kind of thing successfully. And anybody out there who has any access to CEOs or heads of these law firms, big law firms, I have been generally, except for Michael Roth and Wesleyan and one or two other exceptions, quite disappointed with what's come out of the university professors around stuff. Everybody heralded the head of Harvard. I saw an interview with him. I thought it was absolute milquetoast, just the most weak-kneed defense of the university and of educational institutions and of science. Very apologetic for the existence of anti-Semitism on Harvard campus and university campuses, almost like cowering in his please forgive me for my sins. Don't harm Harvard anymore, please, Donald Trump. And I thought it was very weak, nothing to be celebrated, absolutely inaccurate. As a Jewish American who's been around university campuses my whole life, the idea that university campuses in America are rife with anti-Semitism is abject nonsense. I'm sorry if anybody disagrees with me. I'm sorry. I feel I'm right and you're wrong. That is total nonsense. There's probably no space in the world that's been a collective general social space that has been, less where anti-Semitism has been less apparent than on university campuses in the United States of America. It's total nonsense. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's instances of it. There's instances of anti-Semitism everywhere. But believe me, as a Jewish American who's been on university campuses, you are not fearing anti-Semitism. And this is pretty much a reactionary Israel lobby talking point. So, okay, so how's that for a slightly controversial response to what you said, Don? Don, actually, can we unmute Don? I feel bad when I give such a yeah. Any response to what I said?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, what you said sounded great. I mean, some of us. So when Will Khanna comes, I'll ask him this. He has contact, and and I've mentioned this to Adam Smith. He didn't say anything, but anybody who has contact with these people who people powerful enough to reach out to the billionaires. It's who is it? Ralph Nader wrote a book, Only the Billionaires Can Save Us, which I think was tongue in cheek because they're not going to, and it's wrong that we have. And I was somewhat surprised you said that Bernie Sanders refused to accept money from billionaires. I get it that it's corrupting, but maybe they're good billionaires who want to help. I mean,
well, I think Ralph wrote that partly tongue in cheek, but also partly because of to him, it was acknowledging how much power has accrued in the hands of these people. Such disproportionate power has accrued into their hands. And so, he wrote that in light of that as well, both tongue in cheek and because of that. Hey, thank you so much, Don. I'm being nudged to move on. Yes, patriotic millionaires are great allies of PDA, by the way. Sheila Goldner, I'm going to ask you to unmute. And you were the person I wanted to bring up when Mike was thanking people. Just to say, I wanted to shout you out on the call and say thank you for all of your incredible activism over the years. Of course, I know you from Southern California, and you sent me a beautiful note, and I was unable to respond in time, but I did receive what you sent, and it was beautiful, and I thank you very much. So, Sheila, what's on your mind today?
Proposition 50
Mm-hmm.
in terms of elections. Trying to counteract what Texas and Louisiana did, or Missouri. I just
Yes.
want to bring it up if you want to elucidate.
Yeah, actually, it's another electoral issue, of course, that we'll be involved in. Now we are supporting just getting our California. Well, actually, Mike Fowler may want to speak to this as a head of PDACA, but PDA nationally and our 501c4 are encouraging people to, in California in particular, but elsewhere, support Prop 50 and to join phone banking around California to help out with that. There's an incredible avalanche of right-wing money opposing this. This is the initiative that Gavin Newsom has introduced to give the California public a say in whether there will be new districts drawn that will in fact be gerrymandered so as to counter the 5 seats that are being stolen from Democrats or attempted to be stolen from Democrats actively. The goal of Republicans is to steal 5 seats from Democrats by further gerrymandering Texas, and that in response to that, Gavin Newsom has called for a balancing out by doing that for 5 seats in California, or maybe more if it's apparent also in other states, 2 or more or less. I'm not quite sure how the details are, but to gerrymander California. But he's asking the public to approve of it first, so making it more democratic than. And I'm not always the biggest fan of Gavin Newsom, as people know, but on this, I certainly support what he's doing because what the Republicans are doing is so outrageous. And Sheila, does that sound about accurate? From your take on things, though I think you're remuted, so I apologize for that. And
May I say something?
yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah, Mike Fowler. Yes, you please
Yeah,
go ahead.
right. It's me, Mike Fowler. In fact, I'll turn my video on.
Oh, great. Hey, Mike.
And what you see is I've been asked by Hakeem Jeffries, of all people, to get some rallies going and take pictures of it. And he's been sending those pictures out. But the bottom line is that, as you said, Alan, the difference between Texas and California is Texas is not putting this up for a vote of the people. And the Republican, the RNC has put up, I think the number was $70 million to fight this. And a guy named Munger, who is an heir to the Berkshire Hathaway fortune, first put up 50 million, and now he's putting up $10 million a week of his inheritance to fight it. And we're seeing all these commercials. It's a huge amount of money. The ballots have been mailed. They're all mail-in ballots for Prop 50, which if the people of California vote for it, and only if they vote for it, there will be some what do you call it? The boundaries will be I can't think of why I can't think of the word. Redrawn, exactly, in 5 districts, and which will then have 5 more Democrats districts, and to counterbalance what they've done in Texas. And I got my ballot Saturday, also known as yesterday, and voted yesterday. But if not, it's going to be a disaster. And, and the commercials are just, the way the commercials have been going is that it's just horrible that California would do that. The horrible Democratic politicians in California are doing it, but it was okay that the Republican politicians in Texas did it. And now they're saying it's a waste of money. It costs $250 million to have this special election. But the fact that they, had to, that they're doing it or the fact that they put up the same $250 million to recall Governor Newsom a year or 2 ago, that was just fine. So, it's just a mess.
And so the Munger in question is supporting the Republican position on this? Mr. Munger is supporting the Republican position?
Oh, yes. Of course he is, yeah.
Well, no, it's just his relative, Charlie Munger, was a Republican, but I don't think he ever would have supported this.
No, the Berkshire Hathaway guy who died was actually he actually would not have supported this.
No way he would have. Yeah, he was,
But
he
his
was
son,
very critical of Trump. Yeah.
yeah, his son is. But yeah, it's a mess, and it's very worrisome that this may not pass.
Ouch.
Thank you, Sheila. Any final thoughts, Sheila?
Just the name Munger. I think there's still a law firm, Munger, Tolles and Olson. Probably a relationship with.
Well, thank you again, Sheila, and thank you again for all your great activism. On to Michael Jurison. Please unmute, Michael.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Hi. Okay, great. So I don't know, real quick comments. Let's keep the faith. Once again, we lost the presidential race because of Fox News and right-wing radio. I mean, it was really close. I think Prop 50 is going to pass. We actually have more money behind it than Munger does, and that is that association. I'm an ex-health insurance agent. Once again, these Republicans are not business people. They want to go back and do the trickle-down economics, which led to the crash in 2008. It led to the recession in the 80s, which I lived through. So I see a silver lining. I think Madami's going to easily win New York City. Well, I'm from that area originally. And I think we're going to win Virginia, and we're going to win the governor's race in New Jersey. So keep up the hard work and keep the faith. Last thing, I give $5 right now each month to PDA. That's about all I can afford. I've been giving monthly donations to DNC. So if everybody could get a little every month, that would help, because organizations can count on that money coming in. But everybody's doing a great job. Real quick, the biggest social program in the world is a military industrial complex. I was in it. I'm an Army vet. Biggest social program. Soldiering with benefits, I was interested in. Soldiering without benefits, not interested in. So remind every Republican out there, that's a big social program for the military contract. So
thank you so much, Michael. And Mike, thank you so much, Michael Durson. And Michael Fox reminds us that we are still short of our financial goal for this week. So please donate what you can through the links in the chat, everybody. And we're going to go now to Mimi and then Jim Carpenter. Mimi, please unmute.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for holding strong during those Zoom bombs. I'm sure you can contact Zoom customer support about that to beef up your security. They want to make that user-friendly as possible as your friendly IT support comment. Also, could someone from PDA please remind Representative Ro Khanna, I'm a constituent, so I'm going to call tomorrow, that nuclear energy, no matter if they're small reactors, is not a part of our values here at PDA. They're not. So if someone could kindly do that, and an outstanding economist at Stanford, whom he should contact, is Mark Z. Jacobson.
Excellent guy.
Yeah, and if we could have him on at PDA sometime, that would be outstanding, because if we have no climate, if we have no habitable climate, everything's over. So I'd like to thank PDA for recognizing that as well. And I was really glad that Representative Khanna spoke as well on that. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you. And, you picked up on that and you sent me a note in the chat. And it's funny, I think when he was saying that and he was responding to that answer, I missed what he said about small nuclear reactors. But when we were talking, because I was formulating my question about National Security Memo 7 in my head at that moment. So such is the way the mind of your humble host works on those interviews sometimes. Jim Carpenter, please. I asked you to unmute. Your hand came down, but I'm assuming you still have wish to speak. Is that correct, Jim?
Right. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Oh, great. So thank you for having Ro Khanna on. When he comes back, I'd like you to ask him some additional questions, or have me ask him some additional questions about his foreign policy.
Up to you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad he has this petition to recognize Palestine, but there's a Senate resolution to recognize Palestine. So I would hope that he would introduce a companion resolution in the House to recognize Palestine. And also, it's important to understand that words alone are not going to change Israel's behavior. So what concrete actions is he going to take to force Israel to create justice for Palestine. We know no matter what Hamas is going to do regarding signing this peace plan, there will not be justice for Palestine until the United States puts pressure on Israel, not sell them any more arms, but stop all financial aid to Israel, even participating in a BDS movement against Israel like we did against South Africa. So what concrete steps is he going to propose to deal with Israel so that Palestinians get justice? The other things on foreign policy that he didn't get into, unless I missed it, he didn't talk about the military budget. I think it's nearing $1 trillion now. How does he stand on this issue? How does he stand on China? I know there's a number of hawks thinking that we're going to go to war with China. How does he stand on that issue? So those are the issues I'd like to talk to him about when he comes back on.
Sure thing. We'll just to jump on, make sure you're high up in the stack, and if you're not, given that you're the head of our End Wars and Occupations IoT, I'll make sure you get called on because I'll be facilitating the dialogue when he's taking questions. All good questions. I think the one thing I would say though, in terms of his introducing a House resolution, I don't think the House is open, so I don't think he can introduce a House resolution until it reopens, and I think it's been closed since he put that forward. And I think the Senate has been open, so maybe that's why there's a Senate resolution, not a House. I'm not sure. Maybe, of course, it could have been done earlier, but I think he was doing it in response to the countries that did so. And obviously, that's when the petition was released, and in solidarity with that sort of cascading effect of people calling for it, and which is always good political tactic to act at that moment. And I think the House has been closed. It's been kept closed absurdly for to really prevent this Epstein files votes or anything that could move forward anything around the Epstein files. I think that's why Johnson's acting the way he's acting. Okay, up next is Melissa. Please unmute, and then Guillermo will be next.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry that you were Zoom bombed, and I'm sorry that I was late. My question is a values question. I've been surviving on my Alexa because I got so sick of hearing about what Trump is doing, but I finally broke down and got a TV because I need to know things like local weather and traffic and stuff, and you don't always get the correct information on Alexa. When you say boycott, what should we safely boycott?
Boycott what precisely do you mean?
Like boycott Target because they got rid of their
DEI, right?
And boycott the anyone that got rid of their DEI. How can we be because we already know that the Republicans are valueless. How do you maintain your values in a valueless administration?
It's a great question. It's a question for all of us. And in around various campaigns and such to boycott entities in relationship to the domestic policies or international policies, I would just recommend trying to do some research on the web to find out what does exist. And maybe we at PDA can pursue that in the coming weeks. Thank you for that, as always. Guillermo, please unmute.
Hey, Alan. Regarding Proposition 50, I just wanted to send up a red flag that I've noticed on their website, their Spanish website. There's a lot of grammatical and spelling errors on it. It looks like it's just a translation from Google. I had two professional translators take a look at it, and like I said, they found a lot of grammatical and spelling errors. So for me, that tells me that they're not doing a good outreach to the Hispanic community. Like I said, there's no real material out there either in regards to how Prop 50 would affect the Hispanic community. So if they don't get the Hispanic community to vote for this, it's going to get lost. And there's a bunch of articles that I've read in regards to that, and also the African American community. So for me, it's telling me that the campaign is doing the Hispanic outreach on the cheap.
Yeah, no, that's really important what you're bringing up, and that needs to be rectified for sure.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of surrogates reach out to them regarding this, so they know that it's there, and they just don't seem to want to change it. I had Heather Booth even wrote a letter to them telling them about this, and the site continues to stay the same. So, and we also had the same problem in the recall election of Newsom, and again, they were doing a lot of their outreach to the Hispanic community on the cheap, and we did have an article about it. And then then they went out and started spending more money on advertising and also on getting materials to folks. But
Well,
like I said, I go when people are looking for information about this, they're going straight to the Prop 50.
where did you get the article published? Is it possible that you could do so again? And by the way, Sheila and Mike Thaler, please take note of this if you're listening in. What Guillermo's saying, this is urgent in my opinion. Thank you for bringing it up. But if you could pursue the article again, and if you do get an article published or allies of yours get it published, please share it with me, Mike Thaler, just me, Alan at pdamerica.org. I'll put my email in the chat, and we will get it disseminated as much as we possibly can. And even if you don't get an article published, please, get postings up, share it with us, and we'll get it out as far as we can. And by the way, again, Cliff Tasner does political ads, and I think he's doing some in multi languages for Prop 50, but he's doing it of his own initiative, not per the Democratic Party or the official Yes on 50 campaign.
Right.
So final thoughts to Guillermo? Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the DNC did put in a lot of money in regards to hiring bilingual people to do the door knocking. But again, when people go, the first place they're going to go is to the original, where the original website, the campaign website. And so I'm just worried that there's just not that information there. Like I said, there are other groups that are doing stuff, but like I said, I just when I saw it, I was just appalled by it.
Yeah, this is Mike. It might be the DCCC as opposed to the DNC, because the DCCC is the group that has been contacting me to work on this. So check the bottom of the or somewhere on the website and see who the website is actually coming from, and let me know, maybe through Alan or something, and I'll do what I can.
Okay, and there's my email that I just put into the chat for some reason coming up on the second line. There you go. There it is, Alan. That's my email. Thank you, Guillermo. Let's move on though to Betty. Please unmute, Betty, with your thoughts. Thank you, Guillermo.
Hi. I had also wanted to bring up these small nuclear reactors, but that's already been dealt with. So my other question is, I believe I recall that early on when, the Trump regime started attacking universities, there was a group of universities that was starting to band together and trying to grow. Do you know whatever happened with that?
Well, I think Wesleyan President Michael Roth has been fantastic on this. In fact, he's oddly been featured on the NewsHour, PBS NewsHour, which there are many issues I'm not the biggest fan of their framing of issues, but on this one, they have highlighted his voice, which has been fantastic. And I keep mentioning it. That's why I qualified my thoughts on the show. And of course, I hope PBS is able to survive and continue its news hour. It's better to have that than not, for sure, given the duress they'll be under financially with the cuts they're going to face. But Michael Roth, I know, was trying to organize, and we've been organizing with him as well. That was particularly around Jewish American academics and Jewish American university professors, and which, by the way, we didn't really get a lot of other professors to sign on to our statement. I mean, presidents to sign on to our statement because they're also scared about money being cut. But again, per the David Brooks Initiative and what you're suggesting, and what Michael Roth, the president of Wesleyan University, some people may know it as Wesleyan College in Connecticut, has been exceptional about, and so many of the other university professors have been so weak-kneed. The president out here at UC Berkeley has been atrocious. Columbia, of course, we all know about that. And Pennsylvania, they all took a bended knee right away. very few of them really have stood up, and Roth's been the best. So I could have missed. I was aware that there was some traction going on with stuff at the beginning, but I'll check back in with the people I know who work directly with President Roth and see what they say, and maybe give an update in the coming weeks. So thank you, Betty. Great question.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, David Sonnenborn. You're up, and then Shabahat, then Barbara.
Hi, I just wanted a very positive piece of information. I think first in the nation on Friday, the governor signed SB 42, which is public financing of all California election campaigns, and it will be on the ballot in November of 2026.
Oh, great. Thank you. That is fantastic. I mean, is it at the exclusion? It isn't the exclusion. That's a guarantee of public financing for any candidate, but it's not. Candidates can't, of course, they will explode the amount they receive by receiving big money donations, et cetera. So it doesn't restrict those. Is that correct?
No, it does restrict. It
Okay.
does restrict, except there's some exceptions for independent expenditure campaigns. But the rest of the big money campaigns, no, they cannot accept money.
Yeah, no, it's interesting with that because what, of course, we've been pursuing with PDA through in this part of the reason we're so committed to this avenue through the Democratic Party is to try to get to the point where the Democratic Party condemns any candidate that then goes forward and accepts independent expenditure money without opposing that expenditure of money explicitly. If it, in some respects, you cannot help if money is dropped on you by an independent expenditure because you wouldn't have control over it. But they have to, we're trying to find the right language, probably not legally binding, maybe legally binding for the Democratic Party to be able to even de-endorse people who accept such money. And that's the work that, Kai Newkirk has been working with in Arizona. The Arizona Democratic Party has been working on. North Carolina Democratic Party, again, with PDA playing a big role in both states, have put forward these propositions because we really need to have the independent expenditure money stop. But that is good news from California, and I'll look more into it. That's great news. And of course, we'll no doubt support the ballot initiative when it comes forward. Thank you, David Sonnenborn. Shabahat, you're up. Please unmute.
Here I am. Try to keep it under a minute. First of all, I haven't been able to keep my phone banking commitment, for which I apologize to Mike Fox, and I'll follow up on it. On Ro Khanna, I just, as I mentioned before, moved to Los Angeles from what used to be Ro Khanna's district. Early supporter when he ran in 14, lost, and then won in 16. The two things I always sort of struggle with Ro Khanna, I've been supportive of him even as in the early days of the Gaza war. A lot of activists were, raining on him and to some extent Bernie, because he was using phrases like right of Israel to exist. Some of the activists have problems with that. But I do understand that both about Gaza and about the fascism in India, he is having to play, having to be very conscious about what he says, especially as he starts to get up to run for president. So I am more forgiving, and I think that fits in with my general idea of we should be more compassionate with our allies and work on that. On immigration, my big point, because I'm low on time, my big issue with immigration is everybody, the Democrats, even PDA, we are leading with a path to citizenship rather than we are leading the discussion with a path to citizenship and dealing with people who are here illegally, not starting by saying we need to fix immigration. And then as we fix it, the people that are already here, we should help them have a path to citizenship or basically not be mean to them. Because as we know with people like Donald Trump, the meanness, the cruelty, as we say, the cruelty is the point. But what the Democratic Party has been doing over the last couple of decades is also cruelty. I just Googled an article where there was Roe has been an advocate of reforming the H-1B program, for example. But what I'm reading is not a reform, because they talk about misuse and abuse. The whole program is now being used in the wrong way. It is being used predominantly by placement companies, frankly, body shopping companies, which is not what it was meant for. And the Democratic Party and politicians have been hand in glove with that, completely on board. The H1, I have been known to say there's only one thing I agree with Donald Trump on, and that is the effect he had on H1B immigration and L1 immigration the first time he was president. And that is I will shut up now, but that is a longer, deeper discussion we need to have. We need to leave
I love this. I love what you're saying.
reform.
I love what you're saying. So did Dan O'Neill, by the way, who gave a thumbs up and 2 hearts as you were speaking.
Thank you.
And he's very attentive to immigration issues. And there goes another heart from me. Look, I'd love to actually have a heavy schedule the next week or so, but I'd love for us to maybe get into a communication loop about this. I found your analysis and your framing of the issues, so the way you approach the subject and address it, absolutely spot on. So I'm going to put my
Yes,
my email
I
in
owe
the
you
chat.
I owe you an email anyway because I moved to LA and I need to be in touch with you.
Okay, and if from any of my emails, you can pick up my cell phone from the signature that goes along with it. If you text me when you email me, I'll less likely miss the email.
To miss it, I can imagine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I look forward to the conversation going forward. I only have a few minutes left, but let's go to Barbara, Nicole, and Dorothy, and then we'll hand off to Mike Fox if my daughter doesn't grab me before then. So Barbara, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. This is a great program. I'm really impressed with Khanna. And maybe I'm behind on the news. Is he considering a run for 2028?
That's the widely assumed to be the case. Yes.
Great. He'll make a good candidate, and I love the way he's reaching over to the Trump voters to find common ground. We need that really badly in our country. So thank you for everything you're doing to get people together. Really
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I really appreciate that too, Barbara. Thank you so much. Nicole, you're up, then Dorothy. And my friend Bob has snuck his hand in here too. I love Bob, so I want to hear from him too. But Nicole, what's up?
Hi. Today I fell by chance, on channel Fox, and I saw Democratic Senator Paul Wells, I believe it was him. He talked about why if the Democrat don't oppose don't try to shut it down, everybody's insurance would go up, like by 100%, double. And I think a lot of the Democrats should go more on Fox, because I strongly believe that Obama got such an overwhelming vote because everybody was suffering with their insurance thing. And I've been told that you can't move the goalposts once you make your demand. But I think that with this administration they move it. Why can't we? And somebody's told me that anything is negotiable.
Thank you, Nicole. Great comments, and I appreciate that. And it's yes, Senator Welch. That's good to know he was on Fox. And thank you for your comments and very, very wise point. Dorothy,
Can I ask? I met Mike Fox challenge.
Oh, thank you so much.
Donated.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We all appreciate that. You so much. Thanks from everybody at PDA. Dorothy, you're up, and then Bob, and then I'm out of here. Dorothy, what's up?
Hi. So I don't know. I came late. I'm sorry, Alan. I had to go to
Yeah, I saw your text. Thank you, Dorothy.
So I don't know what we discussed on Hamas. I just want to point out that Hamas has not agreed to disarm, and disarming is a major part of the peace agreement. And Hamas has no intention of disarming. If you want to keep up on this, you can drop site news with Jeremy Scahill does deep dives into this. But from what I'm getting from him, this is not looking like this is going to be settled unless Hamas agrees to disarm, unless the Israelis decide that they're going to waive that condition. But I'm not seeing that happening.
Yeah,
so
yeah. My sense is that this has gone as far down the road as it has is because of
It's just motivated by Trump's desire and pressing internal demand to have his name praised in the short term, and for eternity in his mind. But the best he can do, given his policies, is some kind of immediate gratitude on an issue like this temporarily, and so he's driving it in that direction. But yes, it does not seem like the conditions are such that there's been acquiescence, to the full demands of either side, and or to match Trump's demands. But he's declaring a victory because whatever, he thinks he's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize or some such nonsense. If the Nobel Peace Prize is given to Donald Trump, boy, yeah, as a Bob Dylan fan, I'll be appalled. Hey, so Bob Cesario, what's up? What's on your mind? Thank you, Dorothy.
Thanks, Alan. A couple things. One, I also heard what Mimi did about the modular nuclear reactors, and I agree with her wholeheartedly.
Sure.
I've been listening to the grief calls on Monday afternoon, and they have totally convinced me.
Oh yeah, no. It's also a thing where it's also a thing like nuclear overseeing a nuclear reactor requires absolute vigilance and absolute upkeep. I know there are a ton of them in France, but certainly within the United States of America, my sense of the sort of like irresponsibility of corporate oversight and management of something that is so toxic to the public, it's just not trustworthy, not even remotely trustworthy. So
I think
yeah, in the way corporate culture has evolved over the past 2, 3, 4 decades, it's even worse than it was back in the 70s. So yeah, go ahead, Bob. Yeah.
Well, just a couple of other quick updates on what's happening here in Missouri. There are at least 2 other candidates who announced for the Democratic primary in CD4, where it looks like Hartzell's going to run if the map stays. We think it's highly unlikely that the map will obtain in next fall's election because it's grossly unconstitutional according to the Missouri Constitution, but we don't know. The courts do sometimes surprise us. So it's hard to say exactly. Also, a former mayor from Kansas City has announced that he's planning to run. We're not sure whether he's going to be in 4 or 5, and that's Quentin Lucas. Actually, he's the current mayor, but he's terming out. So
and he's got a high profile, but he's considered corrupt.
Well, by some people, yeah. It'll be interesting to see just how that all works out. But Hartzell, I think, has some unique opportunities here, much like you said about Zoran Mamdani. But he needs to make sure he's reaching out to the broad swath of people all across Missouri, and especially in CD4 and 5, because right now, I mean, it is a crapshoot. It's going to be 4 or 5, but I think he has great potential there, and he just needs to stay on top of it, like I'm sure he will. The other thing is, I just want to encourage everybody to get involved in your local Democratic parties. If you're not on a county committee somewhere, do it. It's easy to get on, and please join us in those situations. You can help move the party from the inside. That's it. Thank you.
And Bob, we should try to talk in the next 10 days or so I get a full update from you on the state of things in Missouri from your point of view. It's long overdue. I've been meaning to call you. So yeah, let's talk.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you. And Gabrielle, you have the final word today. Mike Fox is going to start family time once I'm gone, but at least with me here, take it away, Gabrielle. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my, I believe, 2nd or maybe 3rd time joining the PDA for the Progressive Hall. It's been a bit infrequent, just been a little bit busy with stuff at home. I'm coming to you all live from Mendocino County on the north coast of California. And I guess more than anything, I'm just going to spat out like 2 thoughts that I have. I believe Dorothy was speaking just 2-3 minutes ago about Israel and Hamas. And I understand that maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I do feel that for any meaningful peace deal to be made either under a Democratic or Republican administration, we have to ensure that the Palestinian people are at the center of the conversation. They are at the negotiating table, not just simply being hung over everyone's heads as, they agree with us because they want the bloodshed to end. And I really feel that we have to hammer home the idea that we have to have consequences for what's happening right now with the genocide, and to ensure the Palestinians that peace will be the way forward. Otherwise, they might say, screw it, there's no hope, let's try violence again, and we'll be stuck in this vicious cycle. So I guess since my timer's out, I'll leave it here, but just
quickly, what was your second point you were going to bring up?
The second point was I am very uninformed on this, but it seems like nuclear could be a viable option if we have strong state control of this instead of leaving it to corporations to do it by themselves, because we know that they don't follow the rules. And of course, reading up more information would be good. I understand there's a next generation of nuclear reactors that are available, maybe a bit smaller. So something I think worth looking into. Just my thoughts. Thank you everyone for your time.
Well, thank you as always for your thoughts. And, obviously an issue like nuclear where PDA has a policy of opposing it, we welcome all opinions. So anybody who's out there, if you ever hear us say something is our position, don't be shy about bringing up an oppositional point of view. And so thank you for that, Gabrielle. And with that, look, I want to thank all of the people who spoke, Gabrielle, and all the people who spoke in the last 45 minutes or so since we've been opening up the floor. But most in particular, I want to thank Representative Ro Khanna, who was our featured guest on our town hall. We had a nice turnout. Let's everybody who is attending now, with over 200 people there, remember to invite 3 people. Please at least invite 1 extra person. Let's try to invite 3 people each week to come to this thing. We know it's a difficult time, but we have it to ourselves. And next week, we're hoping to get the American Federal Government Employees President Everett Kelly back. His time he was on, it was the week after they got Zoom bombed, and it messed up our circulation of that material like we wanted to. And he's such an important voice and guest to have on our show. So we hope to have him next week or the following week. And if not him next week, I think we're going to have Cori Bush, who just announced her run for Congress, either next week or the following week. And then Ro Khanna back in 3 weeks to take your questions following from his appearance, which he was again apologetic for not being able to be live today. But I think that was a really there's a lot of content there from Ro today, and we were very, very happy with his contribution to this show and very thankful for his time last night as we recorded that, and grateful that he'll be coming back soon. So everybody, I'm Alan Minsky, and on behalf of the PDA staff and Mike Thaler and Mike Ollis and Susan Gilbert and Mike Fox and am I forgetting anybody here? The whole team behind the scenes here. Jim Langford isn't with us this week. Donna Smith, of course. Thank you to all of you, and thanks to Ro Khanna. Thanks for all of you for attending. And Mike Fox, here's my bow and ribbon, and we'll be back next week at the same time with another PDA Town Hall.